Got another college huddle guest connected with Gerald before I was on his podcast back from in the summer. Got Gerald Goodrich from the Longhorn Republic. How we doing today, buddy?
I am okay. Not bad for a Tuesday, I suppose.
Thanks for joining us. Big time matchup. Georgia going on the road at Texas. Austin, first time as in the SEC. I guess in the history, last time we played got us in the Sugar Bowl. I think it was in the 2018 to 2019 Sugar Bowl. Is it Bevo? Went after Uga. That was a little shenanigans in the pregame. I think that was
dust up, yeah. A little dust up. It became a meme really fast. I think it's quickest from happening to meme I've seen in a long time.
Oh yeah, good times.
Oh yeah.
We'll jump right into it. So Georgia beat Mississippi State. Not the flashiest, very inconsistent. So I was pretty negative after this game because to me, Mississippi State, nothing against them, probably worst team in the SEC, 1-4 at the time. We were rolling there, 34-10, and Carson Beck threw a really bad pick down in the end zone, and then ties just changed all of a sudden, and Georgia showed a lot of negativity, disadvantages, and showed I don't really know what happened. 50-50 balls they were missing made the Van Buren kid look like Peyton Manning or something, but airing it out, and a lot of Georgia fans were not happy after it, and they hung around, didn't cover, 34-point spread. But I feel like if we didn't throw that pick, we could have maybe went up 41-10, different game, but it is what it is. And also, I was going to ask on your end to go ahead and bring it up. What did you think about the push, Kirby Smart pushing the guy? I thought at the time, I'm like, man, that's not a good look, like a penalty or something, being a Georgia fan. But what's your thoughts on it?
It didn't seem like he was maliciously trying to get on the kid. I feel like Kirby Smart is just on 10, maybe 12 constantly. And so it wasn't the kid, it was just whoever was in front of him. If it had been a Georgia player, he'd have pushed him. If it had been, I don't know, the Pope, he might have pushed him. I'm not sure. I feel like it wasn't necessarily the kid, but just Kirby being fired up. He is a ball of energy. And so I mean, he made an apology. It's not like he was trying to hurt anybody. It's football. It is what it is. It wasn't I don't feel like it was malicious, I'll say.
I did. I was as a Georgia fan, just stressing. I was like, man, don't get suspended for this Texas game. I was looking back on, I think Greg Sankey maybe even said it should have been unsportsmanlike conduct. I kind of agreed with that, but I feel like we dodged the bullet on there.
A little bit.
But Georgia, Carson Beck, I got to give it to him. 36 of 48, 459, 3 touchdowns, his career high. We had Arian Smith, 5 receptions, 134 and a touchdown. We did run for 146, even though Trevor Etienne is still struggling. Can't really figure out what's going on the run game, and I believe we're like 82nd in rushing, which is not RBU, what we're known as, and we're more of a pass-heavy team. But the defense was the issue. A lot of guys in the secondary getting just burned on deep balls, and that is stressing us out heading into this game. So I'm glad we got the win, but just a lot of questions after that. And then, we're going in this big-time matchup. So as a Texas fan, what kind of holes or what are you looking at coming out of that game for us?
Well, I think the big question for me is, I think you mentioned it, is Carson Beck. In the Alabama game and in this Mississippi State game, the turnovers really are something that it's hard to ignore. And especially I think back to that Alabama game, he just looked lost at times, like he was throwing to just the wrong color jersey. You didn't even see folks that were there in the way, didn't see defenders. And so that to me is something that I'm really keeping my eye on, because, this is a Texas team that they've been really, really good at playing complementary football this year. If you look back at how Texas played OU, the offense struggled, the defense kept him in the game, and then the offense started going. Then the defense forced a couple turnovers. The offense put up 2 touchdowns. That's how Texas put the game away against Oklahoma. And so that's a recipe for disaster for any team. really when you go into the game, if you're unable to keep the ball and keep the ball safe, the other team can put up points pretty quickly. So that's what I've been watching and kind of paying attention to is, can Pete Kwiatkowski get into Carson Beck's head, get him to see some ghosts, get him to make a couple of bad decisions, and this thing can snowball pretty quick.
Yeah, totally agree. And I think we're realizing that Georgia is just not the team of like 2021, 2022, or even last year. I believe their total defense are like 28th, so they're in the 20s, usually top 5. Offense is in the 20s and just very inconsistent. A lot of Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. They'll look great at times and then just struggle. They'll get blown out 28-0 and then rally to try to come back on Alabama, which Alabama, maybe that loss isn't as good as it once was. They are definitely showing kind of who they are in their struggles. But and then as a Georgia fan, I don't think we can, we lose this. This will be 2 of the big boys we lost to. We got 2 losses. I don't think a 3-loss team will get in the playoffs. So a lot is on this game. Also want to flip it in and look at your big win over your loved rival there, Oklahoma. But putting the beating on them, especially in the first SEC matchup. What's your thoughts on that? 34-3. I think they were a little single-handed, I guess. I heard something like they were out of like 5 wide receivers down and backup quarterback, but still, hey, you had to play whoever's out there.
Yeah, there's somebody said about Oklahoma being down their top 5 receivers, but it's been multiple games like that. So at some point you gotta you got to play the hand that's dealt. You can't just keep playing the excuse. Like for one game, I get it. I think back to games where Texas I'll always go back to the national championship game. You don't expect to play that game without Colt McCoy, but OU's been playing without these guys for weeks and weeks now. So at some point it's on their offensive coaching staff to figure something out. Texas did a great job of containing Michael Hawkins. The advantage Texas had in that game is that they've got really athletic linebackers. And so Michael Hawkins can't really catch an edge because Anthony Hill, David Benda, both really fast, explosive linebackers. They can play sideline to sideline. And like I said, the defense played really elite football and complimentary football. It was a point where, Quinn Ewers came in and struggled with his first couple of series, threw an interception, overthrew what should have been a touchdown pass. And the defense was like, all right, we'll step up. And they held Oklahoma to a field goal attempt that they missed, or field goal, and then a field goal attempt that they missed. And so it really turned out to be the difference in the game, because normally in a rivalry game like that, you put up a goose egg in the first quarter and you're getting boat raced. So, but the offense finally caught up. I still have questions. We'll talk about this probably a little bit more. Still have questions about Texas running the ball, but overall, it felt good. It feels good to beat your rival by 4 touchdowns when the spread was 14.5 at kickoff.
Yeah, 34-3 is definitely a beating, and I know you enjoyed it. Did I hear something like, did they only get past midfield like one time or in the fourth or something, which is crazy?
Yeah, they didn't pass the midfield much. I know their last drive of the game was one of the few times that they got into Texas territory. And I think they had that was another thing that jumps out to me is like the Texas defense could have taken that last series off, but they were like, we're not going to let them get in our end zone. And so the starters played that last series up 31 points. And we're going to protect this end zone. And that's the mentality you want.
I think they want to stick it in on the rival a little bit. So yeah,
got to.
Exactly. And then what's your thoughts? Like you mentioned, I know Quentin Ewers coming off. He didn't play for 2 games, right? How did you think he looked coming out? Maybe a little rusty, or just had to get going, or?
A little bit of both. I think Ewers, I didn't love the game script, to be honest with you. One of the things that Sark is really great at is scripting and kind of creating a good script to open the game. And I don't love having your quarterback coming off of a month off, right? Because he missed 2 games plus a bye. So effectively it's been a month. And having him throw deep over the middle twice in the first 7 plays of your script, I didn't love that. So once he got him in a more comfortable passing situation, it's almost like playing basketball, right? Where your shot's not falling, so you attack the basket, you get to the free throw line, you see a free throw fall, and then all of a sudden your ball starts going in the hoop. that's what seemingly happened with Quinn Ewers, where he completed a short pass, a wide receiver got some yards after the catch, and then the offense started to pick up. So it was some rust, and I think it was some scheming as well, kind of combined to have almost a disastrous start if the defense hadn't really shown up like they did.
Yeah. Yeah, all in all, great win. Did want to get your thoughts looking on Oklahoma. Any maybe warm seat talk on Venerables at all, or where do you think they're kind of standing at? Because I got a feeling this offense isn't going to get any better.
Yeah, I don't think the Venables seat is hot yet, but I think the offensive coaching staff has some fire underneath them. Venables is a Dabo Swinney guy. He came up with him as a defensive coordinator, and he kind of tried to build some of this offensive staff like Dabo did, when his offensive coordinator left to coach Mississippi State. He promoted a guy from within, and it may not have been the best hire, and they haven't really figured out what to do with Hawkins. And I also think part of the issue, the offensive line hasn't been as good as they have been in the past. You can think back to Oklahoma having elite offensive lines for as long as I've been watching college football. And so Bill Bedenbaugh just hasn't, they missed on a couple of evaluations, a couple of key injuries. So the offensive line has struggled in some spots. They were okay on Saturday, but Texas had like 11 tackles for loss and like 4 or 5 sacks. So like they weren't, again, as elite as they've been in the past. So I think the offensive coaching staff is going to have a lot to answer for. I'm curious to see what they do as far as play caller goes in this offseason. As somebody who watched Texas basically cycle through coordinators every 18-ish months for like a decade, I don't love the idea as far as development goes for the players, but because it's my rival, fire them all, restart, keep it going, right?
Oh yeah, you guys love it, and I love talking about it, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Before we look into the big time matchup, wanted to give a shout out to our great sponsor of this year again, VivaTequilaSeltzer.com. 0 carbs, 0 sugar. Personal favorite is the watermelon.
Ooh.
But trying to pull that up here. So for the discount code, Doghouse20, again, that's Doghouse20 for 20% off. VivaTequilaSeltzer.com, great for tailgate and other things. So check them out. There we go. Sorry about that. There we go. Elderberry, grapefruit, huckleberry, watermelon.com. Doghouse20. Check them out. Viva Tequila, also on Instagram as well. So looking at and this is one circled ever since we saw it, because Georgia's got just a brutal schedule this year. So it's 3.5. Also, what everybody's been talking about, first time Georgia's been an underdog since the Clemson game in 2021, which is crazy.
Wild.
So Paul Feinbaum right here, another loss. He just says, Georgia's painful to watch this year. So looking at it, Gerald, from your end, how are you feeling about the game? Georgia fans get all kind of negativity. We call it Larry Munson, which is our old Larry Munsonism, which is our old radio person who's just always very negative coming in, always respect the opponent, but we don't have the best feeling heading into Austin. Big time matchup, 7:30 on ABC. And game day is going to be there, of course.
I'm of two minds of it, right? You look at the analytics, you look at all the stats, you look at all of the matchups and all the paper stuff, and like, I should feel good, right? I should feel like Texas is going to win this game. I was looking, I'm a big Bill Rajewski guy. He's a college football analytics, and he's made some charts and compared Texas pretty favorably to some championship teams in the last 5 or 6 years in his statistical models. But like, yes, the game, like on paper, Texas should win this game, but we all know the game isn't played on paper, right? Kirby Smart is still patrolling that other sideline. Georgia is still, I think, 3rd in the country in blue chip ratio. Like 80% of the roster is blue chip players. So like whether it's X's and O's or Jimmys and Joes, either way, however they got to get it done, like you can't ever count out Georgia, especially, coming off of a game where, like, let's just be honest, like that was kind of a little bit of a black eye for this program. They're used to going into those kind of games and rolling. They're not used to letting opponents like Mississippi State come back. And so they've got something to prove, and there's no better way to prove that than going on the road as an underdog. The first time in 3 years they've been an underdog and beating the number one team in the country. So Kirby's going to have them up for this game. There's nobody that plays the everybody doubt us better card than I think in the country than Kirby Smart, which I love it. I love it's how you need to coach. So again, like my rational mind feels okay, right? Like I think about all the numbers, all the statistics, all the models. My head feels great about it. My heart is like, I don't know, right? My heart's like cheering for Texas, but my gut is telling it like, I endured 13 years of really bad Texas football. But these are always the games that they got up for during those years. So all that to say, I feel okay. I feel as good as I can. I think going into a game against, the national champion 2 years removed, right? So it's going to be fun.
Right. Yeah, looking at it again, so I'll go ahead and give my thoughts on it. So I think the only way to victory for Georgia on this is going to be a fist fight shootout. And I think they got to get it in the 30s, similar to these Georgia-Alabama battles, even though, of course, everybody knows Kirby's 1-6 recently. And looking at the stats, like Quentin Ewers, one of the top quarterbacks in the nation. I know you guys have been a little banged up at running back. You guys are also good in the trenches. I think your left tackle, I'm not sure about his name, is probably one of the best in college football. Built in the trenches. But I'm going to go looking at your schedule. Of course, we have one Mississippi State. We both played. You can do the whole,
Transitive
probability and everything. Transitive probabilities. But looking at your Power 4 teams that you played offense, this is scoring offense. So Mississippi State was 71st currently. And then you got Oklahoma is 96th. And then Michigan, who, it's like watching paint dry, 102.
Yeah.
Georgia is in the 20s, 28, I believe. So you hadn't played a premier offense. And we do spread it out. We're struggling on the running game, but we do have some, we got Carson Beck who can sling it. And then our defense is not what it is. We got to somehow contain Quentin Ewers. Also, I did want to ask, what's the update on Isaiah Bond, who burned us last year when he played for Alabama? What's the update on him?
For everything I've seen, it's day to day. He was held out of the OU game for, it's weird. His agent was the first one to say that, not the coaching staff of the school, but he's day to day. I think he's probably going to play unless something catastrophic happens again. Usually, obviously, we'll get the injury report coming out on Wednesday, Thursday. So it'll be curious to see how that shows up. But from everything I've heard, it's kind of a day to day lower leg injury. Nothing too concerning or long term, but again, it'd be nice to have him.
Right. Yeah, and he got the catch or whatever catch. I know that was always debatable last year in the Georgia Alabama game. So, but he's definitely a great talent, great receiver. Yeah, Carson Beck. This is going to be who can play better, and of course, go to who can rush the ball better, maybe win the rushing and the turnover margin. And if Georgia can win those, they can be in the game. And also another one is they have been battle tested, played at a tough Kentucky night game, and they've played in Alabama, so they're battle tested in this fist fight. And that's going to be, I think that's going to help. Also, we've been punched in the mouth, been knocked down, and kind of get back up and can hang around. And I'm not sure if you guys have been tested, which is not a bad thing because you just take care of business, and you can't pick who's on your team. It's kind of like, here's the schedule. So you've done what you have. So I think that's the only way. But I'm going to go – this is going to be a race to 30. Got to get in the 30s. This will be a shootout. But I'm going to go Georgia 38-34, maybe last possession game is the only way I think. But anyway, of course, I'm going to go with Georgia, of course. But 38-34 to get the win in a shootout.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's curious. Like you talk about the offensive ratings and the offensive production of the teams that Texas played. And like you said, you can't pick your schedule. And the thing that's been encouraging for me with Texas this year is in years past, Texas has been accused of playing with their food, and rightfully so. They're kind of down for those games, and then they're up for the games like Georgia and all that. But you can't pick who you play, and Texas has done what you do against bad teams. You beat the mess out of them, right? They've only given up. They gave up a weird broken coverage touchdown against Mississippi State. They gave up a weird one against UTSA, and then they played Michigan and gave up one. But they're doing what you do against teams that can't play offense. You beat them by 50 points. You beat them by 30 points. But I think I've got to go with my head and Vegas thinks it's a 3-point game. I think it's a 3-point game. I think I've got Texas like 31-28 is what I've got in my head for it. Again, it's going to be fun. It's going to be it's going to come down to, I think, the team that makes the fewest mistakes, and that's like the most cliche thing in the world. But, Texas has not made those killer mistakes like they have in the past. And Carson Beck has made some this year. And so that's the thing I'm really watching is like which quarterback throws the backbreaking interception, which running back fumbles a ball, who has the key drop. Because in games that between teams this talented, right? Georgia's the number 3 team in the country in blue chip ratio. Texas is 5, right? Teams that have elite coaching and elite talent, it's who cracks first, who blinks first. And that's going to be the thing that's going to decide this game is who's the one that has the back-breaking penalty, who has the dumb holding call that calls back, a go-ahead touchdown. Those little breaks in the game, I think, are going to be the difference in this one.
Yeah, completely agree. I did want to ask, because you guys, elite quarterback, elite wideouts, great in the trenches, great defense, number 1 in total defense, I believe. So if you had to maybe have a question mark or a weakness that you're kind of worried about, what would you say from the Texas side?
Yeah, it's a group you didn't mention, right? It's the running backs. The running backs, I think, are the question. Going into the year, preseason, pre-fall camp, felt really good about the running back room Texas had. 2 5-star running backs, 2 high 4-stars, and then a 3-star guy that's just like the do everything, grind it out kind of guy. There were 5 deep with really good running backs, and then 2 of them got hurt in fall camp, and so Texas is down to 3 scholarship running backs. It was so bad that they actually had to get a late enrollee graduate transfer to just pad out that room. And they've struggled to find consistency. Jaden Blue was the guy who was supposed to be RB1 this year with the injuries, and I was really big on him. Thought he was going to be kind of the guy. He's a speedster guy. He's fat. He's really fast, one of the fastest players in the country, but really hasn't been able to get consistent movement, been able to really fight through arm tackles and things like that. So he's fumbled the ball a couple of times, had 2 fumbles against Mississippi State. And so he's seen his share of the offense dwindle, and he's given up the ball a bit to that 3-star kid, Quintravian Wisner. He's a kid who is from some conversations, like he was a guy who they thought about, like, he wasn't going to be he was a depth piece. He wasn't going to have a big part in the offense. And he came in as a special teamer, earned his way, grinded it out, made some big plays on special teams. And now that the ball is his, like, he cracked off 2 really big runs against Oklahoma, a 36-yarder and a 46-yarder to put Texas ahead in that one. So Texas has a little bit of talent, they're not deep. An injury can really derail that. So long story short, running backs I've got questions about. Texas still hasn't found, I think, a consistent answer there.
Gotcha. So I definitely will keep an eye on that. But I did remember that you guys were loaded at running back and then had a bunch of injuries in the offseason. So yeah, tough right there. Also, last thing I did want to ask. So Georgia fans are heading to Austin. Heard it's a great town. Anything that maybe they should visit or see, or anything with like tailgate or coming in as an opposing team?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot depending on your vibe, right? All sorts of great food. Austin's a great food town. You could throw a rock and hit 3 really good barbecue joints, or 3 really good Tex-Mex joints. Matt's El Rancho is one of the spots that everybody swears by if you're looking for Tex-Mex. Pre-game, Texas has done a really good job of making it an event. Like, you can just go to the stadium and they've got food trucks and they've got events for the kids and they've got there's concerts and all of that. So you could go and just have a day at the stadium and have a good time with it. This weekend specifically is going to be pretty wild. Austin City Limits Music Festival is in town, and there's an F1 race in town that weekend. So if you got a hotel room, you're probably paying a pretty penny for it, but there's a lot to do this weekend. Go check out the F1 prelims. I would say those are always fun on Fridays. Go see if you can. The cool thing about Austin City Limits, that the music festival, is that you don't have to have tickets to the music festival to see some good music. Go down to 6th Street. I guarantee you there's going to be a really awesome blues band playing, a really awesome cover band playing. So check out 6th Street, 7th Street. Just find a random concert for $5 for somebody who's playing in Austin but not at ACL, and have a good time with it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, if Dawg fans, check it out if you're in town. Also, I've been hearing these tickets are a lot, like $350 plus for uppers. So
yeah, it is not cheap. Not cheap at all.
Yeah, it should be a great time. Also, it's also excited the first time they're going to get to play, especially in the SEC. But yeah, And then Gerald, I wanted to see how we can connect your content for Longhorn Republic.
Yeah, anywhere where you find podcasts, just check us out, the Longhorn Republic. We post 2 shows a week. We do a recap show on Tuesdays and then a preview show on Thursday. So our big Georgia preview will be hopping out in your podcast feeds on Thursday. You can also check us out on Twitter at Longhorn Pods, where we do most of our posting. It's all it's a mix of us being trolls and us talking about real stuff, because that's what college football is all about. We're also big in covering women's sports too. You know, the women's athletics carried Texas for a few years while the football team figured it out. So we love covering national championship rowing team, national championship volleyball team, you know, contenders for a national championship of women's basketball. So we love covering those squads as well. So yeah, check us out. Love it. Love to have you. Longhorn Republic, wherever you can get podcasts.
Yeah, got them right here on Spotify, and they're also on Apple Podcasts as well. I was listening to one of their podcasts earlier, and got over 4,000 followers on Twitter. So that's always impressive.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, appreciate you coming on. I'm glad we were able to link up our college huddle. Sounds like it's growing over there.
Yeah, it's been fun, man. It's been a cool community, and I'm glad I've gotten to connect with so many awesome people.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it. Hook 'em horns and go Dogs. Yeah, appreciate you coming on.
Yep. Check them out.
Hey. Thanks, Jared. Hey, you mind if I do that? I'll edit. You mind if I do that Viva Tequila read one more quick time?
Yeah,
that was
totally. Yeah,
drop the ball on that one.
I get it. You're good.
Yeah. Let me stop that. And go share right here. You know how it is with a one-man show.
Dude, I get it.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to VivaTequilaSeltzer.com. This will be a great beverage for all the stressed out Georgia and probably not Texas fans, but check them out. VivaTequilaSeltzer.com. Personal favorite is the watermelon, elderberry, huckleberry. Great sponsor of the show. Doghouse 20 for 20% off. VivaTequilaSeltzer.com. Again, that's Doghouse 20 for 20% off. Check them out on Instagram as well. Great sponsor of the show this year. Yeah, man. Appreciate that.
Glad to do it.
All right. And I'll try maybe have that try to get that posted, and I'll try to share it on all the social media and everything. We'll appreciate it, Gerald, man. Good luck, man. It's gonna be a good one.
Back at you, brother. Have a good one.
All right, you too. Thanks, man.